What does a retired Top Gun pilot know about boosting B2B sales with AI? Well, turns out a lot. Jeff Schwerdt reveals how he's using AI to turn Google reviews into high converting sales strategies. Tune in to learn how reputation is revenue in 2025. This is Strategy Talks. I'll be right back.
Let's strategize together. Let's hear it from an expert. Join the conversation, it's informative and free. You and me, let's talk some strategy. Here's your host, Morin-van.
Hello, everybody. I am back with another episode of Strategy Talks. Thank you so much for being here with us today. If you're joining us live on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, let us know where you're watching this from. If you are watching this on the replay, we'd love to know that. So put hashtag replay in the comments. And for those of you who listen to Strategy Talks as a podcast, welcome. We want to make sure you feel seen and heard as well. So without much further ado, I'm going to bring up onto the stage my friend, Jeff. How are you today, Jeff?
Good. I'm doing great, Doreen. How are you doing today?
Good. We actually did an episode in 2024 as well, and we talked about reputation management. But today, we're going to really talk about AI, using AI for sales. So I'm really excited to have this conversation because I've had a lot of AI conversations, but nobody who's using it for sales. So some different ways that you're using it, we're going to talk about it. So let's start with the first question, Jeff. Sales teams often chase cold leads, right? Your approach flips the funnel. Yeah, like you're warming up prospects through some visual social proof. How do you see AI optimizing that trust building process at scale? How can you do this over and over and have it still feel authentic is really the question I'm asking.
Well, it's including the human element into it as well. And I think a lot of people just think AI, it's just going to be bot-to-bot conversations and you're running through a lot of things. So when we were designing the system, and we've got some really cool stuff coming to like even build out that conversational piece, is when you start that conversation with a recent customer, right? Or you want to attract a potential customer, you can use AI to help enhance their overall conversation or the results that they're going to see on something like a Google business profile. So every single business has a Google business profile, right? Whether they claimed it or not, they have one out there. And if they're creating a new business, they want to make sure that it's correct. Well, the number one thing that you can do to gather attention for your Google business profile is to get more reviews. And with the reviews, it's not just the rating of the star, it's what's being said about that business by the customer. Now, when we started talking to consumers that were potentially leaving reviews, or even in our systems, ones that would say they're happy to leave feedback, but they weren't leaving the review, we found that we could help with AI so that the consumer can write either a better, well thought out review, or I like to say is like, think of it like a letter of recommendation for a professor or for a job. It can actually just kind of help jumpstart you, right? Where the keywords that are important to the business are in there. Maybe you don't know like what you're supposed to be writing about this type of business, or what your expertise is, or what your experience is with that business. And that really does help, because now you're providing content that a future prospective customer is going to see. And that's where the business owner can take over and use AI in that process as well, where they can actually leverage AI tools and services to come up with well thought out responses to those reviews as they come in, where it is specific to what's been written. And a lot of business owners, I mean, it's their baby, right? I own a business, you own a business. Somebody talks bad about your kid, calls your baby ugly, you get offended. Well, AI can remove the emotion from that and give you a well thought out, pragmatic response that shows that you have listened, you are acknowledging what's happening, whether it be positive or negative, right? Because even responding to a 1-star review is probably more important than responding to a 5-star review, but it's how you handle it. And AI can actually help in that process. Now, I don't allow or don't like saying, oh, well, the AI can just automatically respond to maybe a new review that came in, so there's a response. I believe in there has to be a human element in there. That's kind of what we did to build our system. But in the sales role and flipping everything, like to go back to the question that you asked me, by leveraging AI in the process to write better reviews and get more reviews posted more often because you're lending a helping hand or providing a well thought out response to those reviews. When a business owner, as an owner, they're on the go. They don't necessarily have the moment to stop, be in the right frame of mind, be creative to write something out. This helps them write something more than just thank you, right? Now it's being seen. You don't know how many people say, like, oh, we respond to all our reviews. And we go, look, we're like, you literally wrote thank you.
All right. So here's something that if you're listening to this and you're a business owner, which a lot of you are, guys, the LLMs, the AI is now scanning all these responses. So if your customer uses the right keywords to talk about your business, but then you also repeat those same keywords that helps you be seen. So it's really important. And not everybody is a great writer. I mean, let's just put it out there, right? There are people who love to talk. Some people love to be on video. Some people can do incredible things with their hands, but not everybody loves to write. So the product that you've created is helping people just a little bit, right? It gives that little boost that here is a prompt, here's an idea. You can say this, or you can say this, or you can say this, but it responds to what's being said. And that's really important.
Yeah. And if you're a business owner, every business owner that I talk to, they have that wow moment of like, and for us, we actually do it via text message. They don't have to log into the dashboard. They can just get it right there on their mobile device while they're on the go. So they can actually be actively doing this versus having to go log in and click in and go through. It's done while they're out and about. It's as easy as responding to a text message.
Yeah. And if you're a business owner that cannot put their hands on their Google review link in the next 10 seconds, you need to put that in the comments because we want to know. If you don't have that link saved somewhere or handy somewhere or know how to find the link to ask people for a review, this is another really important thing that I think that you need to know about. So put that in the comments if you don't know where it is, how to find it, or if you don't have it saved somewhere, right? So you've kind of flipped the script, social proof. It's great. It helps with the sales process. Now, the Google review generation into lead gen and sales strategy, right? So you're getting people to sign up for the service that you have. And can you then walk us through how Reviewly users that are using this are turning, I mean, we kind of said that in the opening, turning it into revenue, right? Beyond reputation. Why is that? How does that work?
So it's beyond reputation when it comes to the reputation leads to the next thing, which is the more people are paying attention, you're going to get rewarded by following the activity that Google actually expects and tells you they want, which is they want to see regular activity on your Google business profile. There's very few things that you can do on that Google business profile after you've already initially set it up. So by actively participating, by asking on a day-to-day basis and putting it into an SOP, a process, or even a physical product like a review plate or a digital business card that has a QR code and NFC tag that they can tap and scan it and go to the Google review. Having that as part of the day-to-day process now puts you into a place where you're having activity happen on that profile weekly, if not in some cases for us, our clients daily. And then if you start using the AI to use the response portion of it, you've actually ticked 2 boxes. The initial review, the rating in the review from the customer, the AI can help with that, and then the response from there. So by checking those 2 boxes, Google says you are doing what you're supposed to be doing. We see that you are doing this on a regular basis. Now you start to get rewarded and you start to show up a little bit higher, right? Or you might be in a 3-pack already, or now you're starting to differentiate yourself or separate yourself from your competitors because you are actively generating a higher rating overall, more reviews coming into the profile, because the average business has less than 40 reviews. The expectation of a consumer is that you have over 112. So I call it the 4100 rule. So if your business has less than 40, you're below average. If your business has less than 100, you're below expectations, and you should be working to get that. Then your next benchmark is, who's your biggest competitor? And do you have more than them? You want to separate. If you have less than them, you want to match them as fast as possible, doing it ethically, right? We're not talking review surges. We're not talking gaming the system. AI could help you with all those things, but you don't want to do that because you're going to get flagged, potentially shut down and do any things like that. You want to do it in a normal or day-to-day process that's going to get you there. It's like going to the gym or going on a diet. It doesn't happen overnight. You can't just magically 1 week later be there. You've got to put this over a short period of time, and then it becomes a process. And then you get rewarded for it.
I love that you talked about SOPs, right? Standard operating procedure. If you don't have an SOP in place to get reviews for your business, you're missing out on a lot of feedback. Now, that feedback isn't just for Google, guys. If you think about it, if you know what your customers are saying about you, it's much easier for you to create content that they need, right? We're talking about social media too. This is Strategy Talks. This is a strategic move to get the feedback, to know what your customers are saying, what words they're using about your product, about your services, and use the same words that they're using back into your content to get more people to come find you, right? Because if a couple of customers are using the same words, they might say they're really reliable or they have great customer service. Use those same words. So that feedback is more than only a Google review. It's also going to give you the right feedback to create better content, to even, get more leads, right? And attract more prospective customers. So I have another question for you. So in a traditional SaaS playbook, right, review software like yours is a retention tool, but you're positioning it kind of upstream as a sales driver. Is that intentional? And what metrics do you track to prove that?
So we do. It is intentional because I believe that reviews drive results. I've been in the space for long enough that if we were go out to a restaurant or we were going to go host an event or go to a hotel, the first thing that you look at is Google. And then you look at what the rating is. And then you look at what people are saying. And then most people will go through and they'll click and they'll see a few. And they might go down to see what the worst case scenario was and how it was handled. That's a revenue driver. So actually, I'm down in Cabo right now. I'm going to go meet one of my friends who operates a shark diving business. And you can't control the sharks. You can't control the weather, the water, right? And the way that they handle those complaint reviews actually get responses from other folks that say, hey, we saw how you responded to so-and-so that complained about this or whatever. And because of how you handled it, we chose you. So we were able to help him create revenue off of a bad situation or a poor review that was really out of his control. And some people don't get that. It's not like they're in a tank. You're out in the Sea of Cortez and you're out there in the water. So we're having those kind of conversations with the clients publicly and handling in a pragmatic and proper and professional manner. That becomes a revenue driver, right? So what's your overall rating? How do you look? And then if I look at your responses versus your competitors, and maybe everything matches except for you respond and your customer and your competitor doesn't to customers, who do you think I'm more likely to at least contact first? I'm going to go with the one that I've got more information and more data on. That tells me that reviews do drive revenue because they make decisions off of those reviews, and then it comes to the bottom line from there.
100%. I travel quite a bit like you. And when I go look for especially excursions or new restaurants and places I've never been, I do go to Google. And as a savvy customer, I look beyond the 1-star review, right? Because it was either the customer's fault or, they didn't have a reservation for me. Well, you didn't call to make a reservation, those kind of things. And you understand how that works. But yeah, they're very, very important. So I love that. You can actually put those numbers together. If you have the same, amount of reviews, but you do respond to your reviews, that is a revenue driver. I love that. That is actually a great example. So which AI generating, with AI generating both outreach and responses, how do you coach teams to authentically, especially in a competitive high touch sales, how do you coach somebody to use AI, whether that's for Reviewly and say, here are some responses and prompts, or, for a different type of business, and use AI to get more sales or to get better leads, and still not sound like a robot?
Practice,
Mm.
and authenticity. You can't just turn on any of the AI tools, whether it be Chat, Claude, Generate, whatever, and just start putting things in there. It has to understand and learn, right? It's like any other tool. But you really want to figure out what your benchmark is. What do you want out of it? What's the output that you're expecting from it? And then you need to teach it. So I've spent time teaching. I have a chat that specifically knows everything about my company, the way that I speak. It's listened to, or it's gotten transcripts of my actual sales calls and how I pitch it and how we do things. We've uploaded PDFs of the sales decks and have trained it to basically be a mini clone of me, or a version of me, that now when I have my sales team have conversations, or we want to create content, or in fact, we want to teach it how we plan on responding to reviews for our business, we say, here's our master guide, right? This is our Bible of how we speak, what our brand guide for the AI, to understand what services we offer, who we are. And now I can put that into an AI chatbot to have conversations about my business on our website. Or I want to write a promotion for a new release that's coming out, or we want to run a special for the holiday. I can tell it, hey, I want to run a special. These are the 3 key features I want you to discuss. It already knows what they are. It's heard me pitch them before, or has seen the transcript of hearing me pitch them before, and it understands. And now it's not 100% right all the time, but because you can train it, you set the expectations with yourself of where I want to go with the goal, it will get better. Like right now, there's a few things that I have tools wise for myself that I spent the last year and a half building. And it's not like I stop every day, but anytime I have something good that happens, or we have a new feature, a new web page, I just upload it to the memory bank from there. And I can go pull from that database in the memory bank, and I can get something creative out of it. I can get data points out of it. I can say, hey, what can, if I want to sell to a specific type of business, how would you present to that type of business based on everything that I've given you? And it'll give you an outline, some points. Sometimes I'm like, I didn't even think of that. That's brilliant. Other times I'm like, okay, like this is a good starting point. But sometimes I'm surprised by what I can get back.
That's awesome. I had a recent conversation with somebody about sales, a salesperson here in Vermont, and they had not used AI much for cold leads, right? So one of the suggestions I made, and I'm curious to see if you've done something like that, or you have even a better method. But I said, if you have your ideal customer, the profile of your avatar, you can upload that to an AI and said, this is my ideal customer, this much in revenue, this many employees, maybe in these few industries, find other customers within my territory. So it could be Vermont, New England, could be several states that fit the same bill, and then, identify them, make a list, and then, do some more research on who the people are that work in those departments of those companies that you want to reach out to as cold outreach. That seems like a smart way to increase your lead gen, even if you're, doing cold outreach. Are there any other tips or things that you have used AI for sales that you can think about that you're like, oh my gosh, this might change somebody's world?
So we do that. What you just said, we've done that before, and it works really well. Yes, that's great. That's more of an advanced piece for a lot of folks that are out there, and it works great. What we did was, if you own a company, whether it be a software company, marketing company, agency, or just brick and mortar, when you have sales teams or you have staff, right? Getting the standard, like everybody on the same conversation, the same way, the same pitch is very, very difficult. So what we did was we created like a closer AI for us, a conversational closer chat that knows everything about the business. So I've gotten it so that our sales team has taken what I just talked about, all of the data about our company, how I speak. We've told it the expectation of the tone, what we want it to do. We don't want to be pushy. We want to recommend either a demo or a trial to them from there. And basically take what you just had and you get a response. Well, you can give that to 3 different salespeople or 10 different salespeople. You're going to get 3 to 10 different responses from each one of how they're going to reply. We built a conversational closer AI based on all the knowledge of our company and the way I expect things to happen based on my sales calls, where all they have to do is just copy and paste the conversation, 0 context, and it will give them the perfect reply. It will give them what they should be responding, so they don't even have to think. Literally, they can just copy and paste. Ben does that in our company with our LinkedIn outreach, and we've gotten it to where he just basically copies the conversation and puts it in there, and it gives them the response. And either put in, I'll say 8 to 9 times out of 10, it doesn't really need much pushing. But if I'm 80% on that, that's pretty dang good. Where I know that I can now bring on a new staff member, we can expand or whatever, and I can just take that, paste it in there, and then the AI will tell me what the best response is from there, because I've trained it to know that this is what the expectation is. I'm just going to paste you a conversation. Your goal is to book a demo or start a trial based on the tone of the conversation, what they're saying. And a lot of people, this is a key thing right here that I think a lot of people miss out on. We've made sales on this, so I know it works, is how many times have you gotten a no? Or how many times you've gotten a maybe, get back to me later, and people just go, oh, and then they just shrug it off, and then all you care about are the yeses. Most sales guys and gals only care about the yeses. But we've actually responded to every single conversation because I don't have to use my brain to think. The AI does it for me, and I come up with a well-thought-out response. Cool, when it's the right time, here are some key points to remember about us. I've actually had people go, you know what? I like that response. Let's book a call. Or they've come back and said, hey, I'm reaching out because when you guys, instead of just ignoring me and ghosting me because I told you no, you actually gave me a nice response that made sense based on the conversation and said, hey, whenever you're ready, well, I'm ready. And it left a mark. So use the AI to respond to all the conversations, not just the ones that you were like, hey, yeah, we're ready to go. And you're like, cool, I got a response. Let's book them. Everybody gets a response now.
That's awesome. You just said something earlier when you were talking about this, and you said, not everybody is ready for that level of AI. So my question to you is, Jeff, you're a SaaS owner, you're working in the software, and you're using AI, you build a product that has AI built in. How does a business owner know? How can somebody self-quantify, I guess, when they're ready to start using AI, whether they're in sales, in HR, they're the owner, they sell a product or a service? Are there any quantifiers or anything that you can say, if you're already doing this, then you're ready? Or, anything, there might be people watching and going, I'm in sales and I'm out on the road all day long. I'm pick up my phone and this is how I do it. When do you know, or how can you tell somebody might be ready for that, for, inserting that AI into some of their sales strategy?
One, if you're watching this, you are, because you're doing research.
That's a great answer.
I was like, that's gonna be my answer. You're watching this, you want to know. But when you know, or you've found, or you've heard of, like I've got friends that are shiny object or that are the bleeding edge. They want to know the latest, greatest everything out there. I wait for them to get to a certain point. I'm not a super early adopter on anything. I'm like a mid-level, sometimes late adopter on certain things. Before I move, I want to see it proven. But if you want to know if you're ready for AI, like even Apple Intelligence has like my emails and text messages are giving me summaries now, right? You are using AI in a way. You're like, if I had something that could make this a little bit better or more efficient, or just allow me to buy back a little bit of my time, then AI, there's probably a tool there's highly likely a tool that's there that's going to help you with that. Now, as an owner, I will tell you, like, I could go down the AI rabbit hole, especially as a software company owner, and we have to do this. And AI, look, don't like just burn the ships and go back. Figure out how it can help accelerate what you're currently doing, not just clean slate and replace it with AI. I think that a lot of people think that, like, oh, just AI is gonna do everything. It's not. Use AI as an enhancer, right? It'll enhance or give me back time. Those are the two things. If you think this tool can enhance what I'm doing now, make it better, like I did with my sales closers, right? All you gotta do is copy and paste, and it bought them back time. Now you're having more conversations, right? If it does one of those two things, then you're ready for AI in that specific scenario.
All right. So beyond, this is going to be the last question, Jeff. I cannot believe we're 25 minutes, but beyond
Sorry.
using it, no, it's awesome. Beyond using AI for reputation management, reviews, you're using AI in a lot of different spots as a personal user, but also as the CEO of your company, Reviewly.
Yep.
What are some of the ways that you would recommend somebody who's watching that they might not have thought about where they could be inserting? I know you said just start doing it and you know, like you'll know when you're ready if you're watching this, but what are some places that people just aren't even thinking about using AI, maybe in the sales process beyond, you know, creating a list and doing research and, you know, responding?
So I'll give you ones that we actually did use and put in practice ourselves. The first one was about a year ago. SOPs, standard operating procedures, and continuity in my company. So you're like, hey, here's what you do. You can record everything you do, your sales calls, all that stuff. I actually record every single one of my sales calls using AI tools. I use Fathom right now as a tool, and then you can use Otter or whatever. And then now I have my sales calls recorded, and I can get a summary. I can get, and it's already built in. So it's something that I can add on that I don't even have to do anything. And it gives myself and the person I'm on a meeting with as a salesperson, the summary, the transcript, and a video. We can do it from there. So that's one of those things. Now, when I talk about how we implement it in our business, I'm like, all right, inside of your standard procedure, anytime you guys do a meeting, we're going to have this. But then it's like, well, continuity wise, what are you doing? What is your daily tasks from there? And I had 3 people give me 3 different responses and results, and they all like overlapped in a way. I had them use AI to be able to go in there and say, hey, create me an SOP for what my job tells you, what I should be doing in my job. And it gave them that. And I had one guy give me like a half written document, and another guy gave me this beautiful thing. And I'm like, go look at what, I don't want to say their names, but go look what so-and-so did over here, dude. And like, he's like, whoa, wow. I'm like, yeah, that's when you use AI, right? And you go through, and it can standardize it across your business to make those boring tasks that no one wants to do in the business. They can complete those very quickly and fast from there. Recording using AI add-on tools and things like that, like Fathoms is going to be great from there. And those are some of the big ones that we use that I thought were great. One that I've been using recently is we do a lot of like data and buyer and list building and things like that. I'll tell you right now, I can't code my way or develop my way out of or merge fields in an Excel spreadsheet, right? I cannot program a variable into an Excel spreadsheet or move a column, or I can change colors is what I can do, and I can type, okay?
I'm right with you.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know how to do any of that. So I can't, code my way out of a paper bag. However, with chat, what I can do is I can give it that list, that data, whatever I have, and I can tell it to give me specifics and export data out of there now with the latest updates, where I can upload a list of clients, customers, a lead list, and say, give me only the home service companies, or break it down. What type of categories do we have? I'm looking for my ideal customer profile based on the data that we have, and it will give me from 3,000 results down to 30, right? So imagine it filtering out and going through all of the lists and going, here's your marketing agencies, here's your plumbers, here's your home service companies. And by the way, here's their name, website, email, phone number, like as well, if we have that on the list, or here's where you can go to get that data from there. Now, chat is not going to magically just have business names and phone numbers, but it told me where to go. And in some of the cases, I already had the data. right?
Mm-hmm.
And it just broke it out for me. It did all the sorting and everything, and it did it in like 30 seconds. So that was hours worth of work with finding and filtering and moving all the stuff that I don't know how to do. And it just uploaded it into AI, and now it optimized what I needed out of it. And another case is where I wish I was home, I'd show it to you, but we were looking for leads out of like, just call it a phone book or a directory, right? Where you can get a directory and like you can't just take from print and put it into a database. Like that's manual database effort entry. I took a picture with my phone of it and I said, chat, turn this into a spreadsheet and compile this data for me. I then exported an Excel spreadsheet with the name, the business owner's name, phone number, website, email address, and I had all the information now in a spreadsheet, which was on a piece of paper seconds ago, now in a usable database that I can go and do whatever I want. So there's a lot of different ways that if you think about, oh, what am I doing right now? And if you feel like you're doing it in a manual way, in any way, shape, or form, just ask. I asked chat. You ask whoever you're using, chat, Claude, whatever, ask chat, could I do this better? Or is there another way to do it? Just ask. And it may or may not give you an answer that you'd be like, wow.
That's awesome. I want to close this out, but I have one question. If you're okay with me asking that, you just
Sure.
touched on something. You're talking about, using an AI, like a large language model, and, putting in proprietary information, client information. You're the CEO. You get to decide and set your AI policy in your company.
Mhm.
If somebody is a salesperson and watching this, what advice do you give them on using AI in the workplace? Who should they talk to? Do they need permission? Even if the company doesn't have an AI policy, where are we with this as a country? Where are we with this in the space of AI? How advanced are people with AI policies? And how do we talk about that and have that conversation? Because I think this is an important one, especially when we talk about
It
sales.
is. No, it is. It is very important. It could change by the time you post this video, and it could change a month from now. So let's first of all let's put it there. Look for what's the most relevant, most current. I'm going to tell you right now, most bigger companies and bigger are going to be behind, right? Because if you're putting data, and if it's personal data from the company that's in there, then you need to make sure that your policy is in place, or if there is a policy. And then if there isn't one, what is allowed or wasn't, or what is not allowed from there. So if you are sales and doing that, so start with operations or your manager and work your way up from there. And like, hey, look, I was watching this thing. The guy talked about how they can sort and filter leads and things like that. Is there a way for us to be able to do that? Or is there a policy in place? And we have a friend, you and I, who's an attorney that like talks about those kind of things. And she actually wrote the AI policy for us. And like, here you go. Here's a suggestion of what you guys should use. But that's a big thing. It's data, right? It's information. And if you're putting it into an LLM, a large language model like a chat, it's not just generic, right? Because I was talking about, hey, how to get those leads and then use them for the company. But if you're putting company information up into the model, you have to realize that company that you work for needs to either have a policy or you have to have approval to be able to use that in that capacity from there. Me being the AI company and the CEO, there's proprietary information that we're willing to share in there, and there's stuff that we don't. But once you share it, it's like putting a picture on the internet. And once it's there forever. You can't just magically take it down. I mean, there are cases now of language models being trained by for certain companies on stuff that was copywritten or shouldn't have been allowed, but then it was also on the internet. So that is something that is going to always be evolving and changing. But figure out what your policy is for inside of your company. If you're a CEO, maybe reach out to somebody that's an expert on this and ask them like what some recommendations would be, and then get legal counsel on there. But yeah, it's something that you need to pay attention to. If it's not your company and you don't get to make that decision, then ask from there. And then as long as you're not sharing that proprietary information and you're working on your own stuff, and you're not adding in, stuff that you shouldn't be, then you should be okay. But the best thing to do is ask for permission in that case, because you don't want to get yourself in a spot where you're like, oh, I thought I was good because I saw the show. Well,
Right. No, that makes sense. That's why I asked the question, because I was like, when I had the conversation with this salesperson here in Vermont, I asked him about the AI policy, and he at first didn't think he had one. And then he said, wait, when I signed on, I think there was one, but it was really short. I don't think I've read it. If I'm going to use any sales techniques, any AI with sales techniques, I think I need to read it. And then I said, well, most likely they don't have very much in there. And, one of the statistics that I keep hearing is 71% of employees are already bringing AI into the workplace, using their mobile phone, right? Using their own devices. So if you don't have a policy in place right now, you're missing something really important, because if they're bringing it into work, they're probably using it. And so you need to get together with your team and set a policy. It's better to set a policy than not have one, obviously. And then it's a question of, how strict do you want to go? How do you want to set it? But like you said, get legal counsel. But I just wanted to clarify that, because I'm hoping that a bunch of you that are in sales usually have a lot of marketers, founders, small business owners, and small business owners are usually salespeople, are watching this. And I just want to make sure that you understand that, yes, when you put in data, not just taking it out, when you put in data, you have to be careful what you do, right? Because especially if you use a language model for free, you pay for it with your data.
Exactly.
Jeff, how can people find you, and where are you most active online?
So I'm most active online, and you can find us at Reviewly.ai. And we have a school group that's tied into there. And you can find us online at Reviewly.ai, and you can contact us anywhere on that site. And it also leads you to our trainings for agencies, or to a trial to the software if you're a business owner, to learn a little bit more about who we are. And then if you really want to dig into our background, you can just go to, which would be my nickname, jeffhershey.com, HERSCHY, long story on that one. And that'll give you the links to all our different products and programs and things like that. But if you just go to our main website, you'll be able to find us. And you can even just book a one-on-one call with me if you have any questions, right there off the main site.
That's awesome. Yeah. And for those of you watching, you can see the banner at the bottom. Reviewly.ai is right there. Thank you so much, Jeff. And thank you so much, everybody else, for watching, staying till the end. This is a little bit of a longer episode today, but I think it was great information. So I'm glad that you stayed all the way to the end. Thank you so much. I'll be back next week with another episode of Strategy Talks. Bye, everybody.